Hi everyone, here's what's bothering me today. The Democratic National Convention. Ugh. Okay, so right off the bat, my main problem with the superficiality of the Democratic National Convention is this idea of trying to build unity. You know, they're bringing in Bernie Sanders, they're bringing in people off the street, they're trying to show some nice ads painting Joe Biden, Kamala Harris as very nice legitimate choices. It runs, to quote Marianne Williamson, it runs like an extended Marriott commercial, pretty much. And she absolutely hits the nail right on the head. So the DNC right now is very concerned with trying to appeal to centrists and moderates. The actual base that tends to vote Democratic is not what they are going after, which is kind of weird and very dumb because their main base wants Medicare for all, which Joe Biden says he opposes, and the Democrats haven't brought it forward in Congress yet. Their base wants to defund the police. Case in point, we're on what, day 70 something of straight protest now? And they say, no, we don't want that. That's bad. And we're going to choose as our VP an ex-top cop. And then a lot of other Democratic-based voters want things like a raised minimum wage, which sure, Joe Biden says he's going to do. That's nice. But in terms of extra worker protections, that's not being mentioned. In terms of a Green New Deal, that's not being talked about. There were vague platitudes about, oh yes, Black Lives Matter, and of course we need to fight climate change. But any real policy positions haven't been seen or heard. Because, and this is what's mainly bothering me beyond the superficiality of it, what's truly bothering me today is that the Democrats are campaigning for Republican votes, and they're not going to get them. And it's so infuriating to me. The Democrats seem to think that their base, like their actual voting base, is something that they can ignore and say, we don't want to actually listen to you and your concerns and the policies you want. We still believe in this outdated notion of a silent majority, which is fundamentally a myth, but they're trying to campaign for the mythical unicorn centrist who can swing between parties easily, is of sound and sensible mind, and moderate Republicans who are now so appalled by Trump and his actions and the actions of his team and administration. They're hoping that they can win them over. This is why John Kasich was speaking on the very first day and got several minutes, whereas AOC is going to get 60 seconds. The audacity of the Democrats to try and make it so that they're going to appeal to centrists and moderate right-wingers is a fucking farce. These people, Republicans, are overwhelmingly team players. That's why they haven't gone against Trump. They are team players. That's why even though many people before the Republican National Convention in 2016, they said, oh, not Trump, but once he was the nominee, guess what? Well, we're team players. We're going to fall in line and vote for our guy because the other person concerns me more. And yet Democrats think that they're somehow going to get these people to vote for them. They're not. And this is to not even touch on the subject that Trump is probably going to rig the 2020 election with mail-in voting or just suppressing the vote, as we've seen Republicans do in states like Georgia, Kentucky, Mississippi, Texas even. So limiting polling places to make it harder for people in predominantly minority or poor working class communities and rural communities to vote. They're also going to make it so that they're going to sabotage the USPS so that they have even less avenues for getting Democrat votes out there. And yet the Democrats still seem to think No, see, this is fine because we'll get the majority white centrist suburban voters to vote for us, right? If you only offer the same policies as the other party that they already voted for, you're not going to get the results you expected. That's what sank the NDP in 2011 in Canada, and it's what's going to absolutely screw the Democrats in 2020. And no one is realizing this, or at least I don't think they're realizing it in senior Democratic leadership, because they still believe in this outdated system of we're going to respect tradition and decorum and, oh, Trump was just an anomaly. Things will go back to normal. Trump is the system, not the problem. The system produced him, and it's going to produce another worse one if you don't actually fix things. There is no going back to some before time. And yet they continue to insist that this policy of trying to appeal to a broad centrist middle and moderate Republicans is going to get them, even though Trump is going to do his best to rig the election. And he and the Republicans are going to do their best to limit polling places. And they're going to say and do the same right things and use effective propaganda to utterly smash Biden and Harris. And the fact that Democrats aren't realizing this and thinking that, oh, it's a slam dunk, that's the same thing you thought about Hillary Clinton. And look how that turned out. Fix your shit, Democrats, before it's too late and things get way worse than they need to be. Actually campaign on meaningful changes and policies that have a broad swath of support across America. You have an opportunity here, but you're not going to take it because you and the Republicans are just two sides of the same neoliberal order coin, and that's what's bothering me today.